here?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Here?
We don't sing the children out. No, we don't. We're all here together. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's not
Think of
something
until it was like, oh my gosh. I can smell it.
Maybe that's the problem. I like it too much. It's exciting. Good morning. I think Ruth's going to do our welcome.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast. I'm the Reverend Ruth Van Lillian, and my pronouns are she, her. We recognize all the earth as sacred ground, and we welcome each other into this gathering space, including a special welcome to our first-time visitors, both in person and online. We are so glad you found us. As we engage in the practice of celebrating what is worthy and sacred in our lives, I am with you in heart and spirit. As the school year winds down, we find ourselves in a time of completion. Many spring flowers have finished their life cycles. Young animals are fledging and leaving nest and burrow. So, my friends, are we approaching the completion of my time as your minister? We have much to celebrate, even as we anticipate the grief of parting. I hope to see you all on May 19th, when we can engage in the spiritual practice of joyful leave-taking and bless each other on the way. For today, I wish you all refreshment of the spirit and restoration of your deepest human selves.
Good morning. I'm Holly Lohmiller, your Director of Religious Exploration and your service leader today. I do have some counterparts that will be helping me, thankfully. The announcements are listed in your order of service, as well as sent in the e-news every Friday. Please take a moment to look them over, and I will take a moment to encourage you to find the slip of paper asking for you to share some words from your mother or perhaps another wise woman in your life, because I know some of us do have complicated relationships with our mothers. The prelude will now prepare us for the service. forgot to mention your slips will be collected during the opening hymn and will be shared during time for all ages. So don't put it in the basket if you don't want Amy to read it. But we won't know it's you if you don't put your name on it. Lorelei, will you please do our chalice reading and Shua our chalice lighting?
The chalice we light today is a symbol of our faith. It binds us together as one people. A reminder that our strength is in our shared hope for the world, and that our common work is the creation of beloved community among ourselves and in the world.
And now our call to worship. Co-regulation. From our very first breath, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is in our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet. By turning to one another, generation to generation, we awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at the evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark. A life cannot begin without the air. And we cannot begin to find ourselves without love. May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. In this spirit, let us worship together. And now our opening hymn. Now I recall my childhood, page 191 in the gray hymnal. Thank you for your patience. Amy's going to do Time for All Ages.
There's some interesting things in that basket. But before I start reading your response, I'm going to tell you a story. So the house I mostly grew up in, we moved in when I was 6 and I left to get married, was what they call a split level. So it was bedrooms, then the living room and the kitchen and everything, and then a family room, and then a playroom downstairs. So from the kitchen to the playroom was 2 flights of stairs. So my father, in his wisdom, installed an intercom. So if my mother was in the kitchen, this was in 1960, so that was a very, very modern thing. If my mother was in the kitchen, she could listen in to what was going on down in the playroom. And we could call her, and the intercom installed in the playroom was way up next to the ceiling, up on the wall, mostly so that we couldn't turn it off. So we'd be playing down there and running around, and every once in a while, if we got a little too rowdy, my mother's voice would come over the intercom and say, "Okay, that's enough. Calm down, stop it, whatever," or "What's going on down there?" And, it worked. But later on, I thought, you know what that is? To me, I call it the voice of God. I never really believed in God, but God listened in on us and said, "What is going on down there? Cut it out." So that's what I call my mother, the voice of God. So I think there's too many things in here for me to read, because look at all this. Things our mothers told us, and I don't know who they came from. So a lot of them are about being nice. Always leave a place better than you found it. That's a good one. Always love your neighbor as yourself. So these are about being nice. Be nice to your sister. No, the one we got was quit picking on your brother. That one. What is this? Oh, and when you meet someone you don't like, you're going to meet people like this all your life. Yes, that's sort of depressing. Oh, this was later on, I guess, when you're a teenager. If you are asked out with less than a week's notice, you're busy. I don't think my mother ever told me that. Stop it. That was like the voice of God. Stop it. We're here, we have be kind to everyone, treat others with respect. Our mothers were like that. There's this, clean your plate. Yeah, I got that one too. There were children starving in wherever they were starving at the moment. Do you get that too? Yeah. Life is too short to take everything so seriously, which I certainly agree with. And as some people are putting notes on these things, some people, either their mother wasn't around or they had a bad relationship, and so their father was the one that gave all this advice. Ain't is not a word. Yeah, I know. But it wasn't. But then we get the little, so there was one thing, my mother, did your parents ever tell you this, that if you swallow the watermelon seeds, the watermelon will grow in your belly? Yeah. Quit putting your finger up your nose, it will get stuck. Yes, it never did. And some mothers said, I love you. You are amazing. I think that's nice. Do your laundry. Yes, I got that one too. Oh, yeah, my mother told me this too. When we visit someone else's house, do not go around opening doors or drawers. They are none of your business. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is good. This is for those of us who have grandchildren. Get a hotel when you visit your children. You all get a break and you get to walk around naked. Yes. Look with your eyes, not your hands. That was in the, you know that one? In the store? Yeah. These are all good. We had good advice. Don't wear socks with sandals. I don't think my mother ever said it. No. Yeah. Well, because it depends on where you grew up. You know, it was cold where I grew up. You had to wear shoes. And then we have well, see, it depends on where you live. Something good comes from all things. I like this one. It's okay to be a Susie Sunshine. It is always okay to be happy, right? So I'm not going to try to read them all because it would take up so much time. But people didn't write their names on these, so, except you wrote your name. That's okay. We'll take yours out. But we all remember something either our mother told us or our grandmother or our father, or sometimes it was a special teacher in our lives. And so we want to really remember those things and remember that sometimes they had to do with the time that our parents grew up in, you know. And times have changed a little bit, and sometimes they're still true. And a lot of times I hear the voice of God telling me just to cut it out, behave, right? I'm not going to throw it. I'm going to put it back there so you can read it. Wait. So now it's time to share joys and concerns. This is a sacred time for sharing personal events by dropping a pebble into the bowl of water silently or by speaking very briefly into the microphone so we may support each other in sorrows and celebrate in joy. Please do not share personal information for others without their permission.
1020 in your teal hymnal. Rachel will share with us our meditation.
Children widen the circle of our being in ways that are limitless. Every baby that's born connects us to our history, our own parents, grandparents, and unknown forebears who brought new life to the world at each successive generation. Every baby that's born links us to the future, to a world yet to come that belongs to our descendants and that we hold in trust for our prosperity, whom we will never know. Each child connects us to nature, to the innocence and exuberance of a world always hatching newborns, kittens and pups and lambs and babes. Each child reminds us of the kinship that we share with people of other lands and races who love their young as purely and tenderly as we do. Each child connects us to the universe, to the holy mysteries of birth and death and becoming from which we all emerge. Children widen the circle of our being in ways that are limitless.
Thank you, Rachel. Now it's time for our offering. After our song of dedication, our children will take up the offering. Generosity is a spiritual practice. Our fellowship is supported by our pledges and our donations. If you are paying your pledge with a check, please note so in the memo line. Our Share the Plate partner this month is Youth Village. All cash and checks with Share the Plate or STP in the memo line will be equally shared with this local charity. Youth Village was formed in 1999 to create a safe place to provide various educational and recreational services to children in our community. Please give generously. And my young friends, you may return to your people. Thank you. That felt like kittens and puppies and lambs. Good morning again. I'm Holly Lohmiller, and I'm just going to share some perspective today. I'm a mom. I'm a biological mom, a stepmom. I've been a foster mom. I've been an adoptive mom, and I'll be a mom to anybody that needs a mom. And I believe that we all need more than one mom in our lives. And my house was bustling this morning with lots of action. 5 of my kids are still home. My oldest is in Texas. This is my first Mother's Day as a grandma. So I have lots and lots of big feelings today. And I don't know, nothing like motherhood brings out my tenderness or my fierceness. And I think that's what it is to be a mom. It's like gore and beauty all meshed together, and that's just how we live and breathe in this world. And the children are, to me, the most important humans because they are the future. So, how are the children? Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes in Africa, no tribe was considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai. It has perhaps been surprising to learn the traditional greeting that passed between Maasai warriors, Kasirian and Gara. One would always say to another, "It means, and how are the children?" It is still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on the children's well-being. Even warriors with no children of their own would always give the traditional answer, "All the children are well." Meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young and the powerless are in place, that Maasai society has not forgotten its reason for being, its proper functions, and its responsibilities. All the children are well. Means that life is good. It means that the daily struggles of existence do not preclude proper caring for their young. I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question, "And how are the children?" I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how children are thought of or cared for in our own country. I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community, in our town, and in our state, in our country. I wonder if we could say truly without any hesitation, "The children are well." Yes, all the children are well. What would it be like if religious leaders began every worship service by answering the question, "And how are the children?" If teachers began every class by answering the question, "And how are the children?" If every town leader had to answer the same question at the beginning of every meeting, "And how are the children?" Are they all well? If every business leader and corporate executive had to answer the same question at the beginning of every workday, "And how are the children?" Are they all well? Wouldn't it be interesting to hear their answers? What would it be like? I wonder. Let's begin in here and greet members and friends in our Unitarian Universalist congregation with "And how are the children?" And before we can respond to one another, "All the children are well," what actions must we take in this congregation, in our community, in our state, in our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, in our country? And how are the children? Working together, may our children be well. Amy, will you join me? And it does take all of us. So we are going to have a responsive reading. Amy and I, leader 1, leader 2, and then your response will be, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a Unitarian Universalist village to raise a Unitarian Universalist child. We will read what we believe important for our children to learn, to know, and to experience. We invite you to respond by saying, it takes a village to raise a child.
It is important for our children to know that they are cared for, to know that they are part of a larger family, an important part of a bigger human picture.
It takes a village to raise a child. It is important for our children to believe in themselves, to trust in themselves, to know that they can make a difference. It takes a village to raise a child.
It is important for our children to know our Unitarian Universalist principles, to find ways to live them in their daily lives, and to realize that the choices they make are important.
It is important for our children to be able to speak about our faith, to honor its history and its heritage, and to appreciate its heroes and heroines.
It is important for our children to explore religious truth and meaning in the Jewish, Christian, and other world religions, and to know that ours is a religion worth having.
It is important for our children to experience the spirit of life, to feel a sense of awe and the grandeur of the world, and to live lives of empathy and compassion. Thank you.
So this service, because it ended up being on Mother's Day, is about RE Sunday, religious exploration, and about Mother's Day. And so we did the Mother's thing, now we're doing the RE thing. And Holly wanted me to talk a little bit about why I volunteer in RE and teach classes. And some people, like, you may not know that we actually have a curriculum. We actually have lessons that we teach that try to do all those things, and they're arranged in advance. It's pretty amazing. I will say that not everyone, it's not something that not everyone would want to do. You have to be open to a little bit of chaos, or a lot of chaos, or improvising on the run. But I find such joy in being with the children, and I'll tell you some of the things that I've learned, because sometimes the lesson starts out as one thing and ends up being something else. So one day it was teach Amy all the words. We were talking about identity. Teach Amy all the words we used to describe ourselves, because I hadn't heard any of them, because I no longer have children in middle school. So I learned that in this congregation we have baddies and Swifties, and what's the other word? I don't know, there was another word, slay. Everybody is slay, right? Is this good? Okay, I didn't know any of this stuff. They had to explain it all to me. So I had a wonderful learning experience, even though it was a very serious topic we were discussing about identity. Okay, so that was one thing. We also talk a lot about different religions and different religions' outlook on the world, and my favorite thing to do is with children, because they're very open to things. willing to invent. And I would say, we were talking about the eclipse, and I said, so you guys go to school and you know all the science, and you're going to tell me exactly what is happening, because they do. They go to school and they learn so much stuff in science. I said, but what if you didn't know? What if you were just living here and nobody ever taught you any science, or nobody knew any science, and all of a sudden it got dark in the middle of the day, and then it got light again? How would you explain that? What's the story that you would tell? And it was very, very hard for them to let go of the science that they knew. But one young person, who I wish was here today, said, what if, you know how the tides kind of, it goes out and then it comes in, and then it goes out and then it comes in, and what if the eclipse is like the sky comes in and then it goes out, just like the tides? And that's how we explain the eclipse. And I was like, that's magical. And sometimes magic happens with the children, and that's why I hang out with them all the time. So, are we going to do this little thing, or are you going to say something first?
And this morning we would like to honor any RE volunteers from the past year. If you've spent any time back there with the children, we're going to do another responsive reading to express our gratitude. And we also have a little house plant for you to choose and befriend and take home and speak sweetly to. Yes. So let's do this. Why I volunteer. Thank you, Amy, for telling us why you volunteer.
Okay, and you're going to
Yes. Okay. When there was a need, you came forward, and so we thank you. In the nighttime or daytime, on weekends, and even in the coldest, darkest part of the year, you helped. Elected and duly appointed, or quietly, anonymously, and unbidden, you did what needed doing. And so, thank you. Sometimes with the help of many hands, and other times alone, you worked. And so, you gave your time, your talent, and for all things great and small you have given this congregation, we take time today to recognize. If you have volunteered with some of the greatest little humans in the world, please come and choose your plant friend. They're all friendly. I had conversations with them at the garden center. Yes, and there are instructions on how to care for your friends.
It's feisty.
Low needs, high needs, spicy needs. Can't go wrong with Fern. Thank you very much for your commitment to our children. Claire, will you please come and do our chalice extinguishing reading? And Samuel, will you please extinguish our chalice?
Together we have enjoyed the warmth and beauty of stories of this flame and of this special community. As our chalice flame is extinguished this morning, we can still remember that its glow is carried within us. We can use our inner lights and this flame to kindle new sparks throughout our lives and in the world. May the spirit of peace and togetherness bless your lives.
And now our postlude. Thank you. Shua, it made me want to dance too. I'm going to tell you what I tell my children when they leave for the bus. Be kind to yourself and to one another. Go in peace.